Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barney Show. I am Barney, and as usual, I'm joined by internet personality, bowling personality, and worldwide personality, Stu Williams. Good morning.
Hey, Barnsey. How are we doing this fine morning? We had sunshine yesterday down here in God's country in Texas.
It's paradise, yes. Down here in paradise where COVID takes a break. So I guess not over. But yeah, some interesting photos this morning. We have snowballs in Phoenix. Las Vegas is under 3 inches of snow. Not your usual January for those places. And yet it was about 65 degrees here yesterday. Fine golfing weather.
Yes, it was a very odd scenario for sure. I certainly wasn't upset that we had the sunshine back. Daddy doesn't like the cold.
Yeah.
And Brady certainly doesn't care less about what it's like. He just wants to go outside. So, yeah, good times. But anyway, so last night I was bowling league, and my teammate Ken, who's a pretty good bowler, has never had 300. And I didn't think that anybody had never had 300 before, pretty much. So we had a bit of the last 6 or 8 weeks. It's been kind of amusing because he's been very up and down. Like, he's been very close. He's been bowling really well, but he manages to find a way to screw it up. So I thought, well, maybe it'd be different this time. So I took a video. So here we go. So there you go. My teammate, Ken Bergio, finally got the monkey off his back and shot 300, even with a double dribble in the 12th shot there. I could have been a little kinder to him because a couple of games later, a game later, in fact, he had the back 10 to shoot his first ever 800 series as well the same night. So he got everything done all at the same time. So an 816. With 300, 279 the last 2 games. So congrats to Ken. He beat me by 102. I proved that when one lane hates you, it's very difficult to bowl well in league. And the right lane after game 1 hated me. Much to the amusement of Rob Law and his teammates. I had a couple of 9-pins, an 8-pin, and then the pièce de résistance I changed, and I went to the high road pearl. Maybe I got a little bit behind the head pin, left a 610 out the pocket. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, all fun and games. I saw that you got beat by your internet guy last night.
Yeah, he's here already this morning. Shockingly, he's on time. Yeah, he's just asking for a friend. He did make a nice post last night. He had his Tom, well, I guess more like his Aaron Rodgers moment, because that was his only one Super Bowl. But
yeah, that's one other thing that we could bring up.
He did. We had a pair on last night, and we had Anthony Lavery, Scott Knack, a left-handed house hero, 100%. Paul Fuller, Michael Todd. Let's see, who else do we have? Ryan bowled last night. Chris Hansen, myself, and AJ Chapman, and he was the high series. And he was the high series of everybody on the pair, and by a lot. He actually put it on him. I made a crack at him not too long ago. He'd lost, I don't know, almost 100 pounds, maybe even more. And I'd laughed, kind of joked around that his bowling ceiling was his weight. And he smashed through that easily last night. So
doubled.
I take it back. You won. I lost. You're pretty. I'm ugly. You're smart. I'm dumb.
Well, your mom still loves you.
Well, and I weather report. I mean, what's good with it? You can't talk to your parents like getting a weather report.
Yes, that is quite the shock, Adam. A lefty who hasn't shot 300.
Yeah, well, not all of them bowl in a regional. So,
no, he was using the phase 3. Yes, you heard it right. Phase 3. There's a couple of people asking for my wife. My wife is back to her real job upstairs from a successful financial transaction on the PWBA tour. Yeah. So yeah, let's have a brief discussion about the weekend. So the Kansas City Chiefs decided that the Bills were good enough that they could actually bring their A game.
Yeah, a little bit of a page out of last year's playoff book, although they didn't get down by, 2 touchdowns or more. They went ahead and just got a quick 10, well, should have been 10 spot, quick 9 spot, and then a little worrisome is the Bills are legit defense. I'm like, okay. And then they went on that little run where they get about 5 or 6 plays in a row, and you go, okay, we're good here. This is it's rolling. So
I think it might be a glitch at your end, Mrs. Barnes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like the only chance the Bills had of winning that game was if Josh Allen played the best game of his life, and he very much did not. And it made it look quite embarrassing to those pundits, analysts, experts who said that he was on Mahomes' level because he very much looked like a scared little schoolboy. Probably could have been intercepted about 17 times, it felt like.
Yeah.
The Chiefs defense stepped up and he did not. So that was a little unfortunate way for the Bills season to end. I was very unfortunate about it because my guy made it through, and I was very much looking forward to him crushing Buffalo's hopes and dreams yet again, just for the amusement value of it. And also because I don't think the Bills are anywhere near as good as the Chiefs, as it proved. So I was kind of hoping that there was going to be, maybe they were going to throw Brady another bone for a 7-bagger. He tried his best to help Aaron Rodgers out in that second half. He went from hero to zero from one half to the next, but
he played
normal.
A first half about as good as anyone can play the game. He put it in the bucket. 3 or 4 of those passes were just, whether you hate him or love him, you like those were amazing. And then the second half, he looked like the guy you go, man, is it time to retire?
To be fair to him, at least one of the interceptions wasn't really that big of a deal. It was kind of like it was on 3rd down.
Yeah.
They weren't really in field goal range, and he launched it down the field, and he didn't make a very good throw. But at the same time, it didn't really matter because the punt would have ended up in the same spot.
The one thing about Arians' offense and the way they do is they take so many deep shots. Yeah, you throw more interceptions, but effectively, like you say, if you're in 3rd and long situations, they're effectively punts. They just don't take as much time.
Yeah, exactly. And like overall, I think it's just kind of fun. It's the matchup everybody wants. It's really a no-lose kind of scenario for Brady, which is very unusual in his career. But if he beats Mahomes, then Mahomes pretty much can't ever have any claim to being the greatest because he couldn't even beat 43-year-old version of this guy. And if he loses, he's 43.
Yeah. There's a little liberation sometimes on being the elder statesman in the room. No doubt. And like I told you and have said several times, I felt like Tampa Bay has the most complete roster. You couldn't figure out whether the terrible losses where they just looked like they didn't show up, was that part of the deal, or was that just a bump on the way to the final? And so I think it's a great team. I have no problem giving away the 3 points, though. I'll take Patty and and the chefs.
I think it's the same way as I said about the previous round. I think that the Chiefs can only lose in a close game. Like, if there's going to be a blowout, it isn't going to be Tampa Bay blowing the Chiefs out.
You wouldn't think so. The Eric Fisher thing, I think, changed it quite a bit. Because Tampa's defensive front is
but Mahomes
San Francisco's last year, which gave them a lot of trouble.
I just feel like it's almost worse having a good line against, like having a good defensive line against the Chiefs, though, because once you get more like you think you're going to get Mahomes, that's where all the big plays come from. You kind of just got to not attack him and just let him be, and it's a little harder for him. Anyway, whatever. We're not football experts. We're just two fans sitting on a couch. At least the Super Bowl's worth watching. My son has been around for 5 Super Bowls. Tom Brady, who he's named after, has been in 4 of those 5 Super Bowls. So 5 out the last 7. The guy's ludicrous.
Yeah. By the way, I call him Peyton. But anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, you might be able to call him Peyton. He's catching up to Peyton's losses. So let's move on. Let's move on to a more into our niche.
Yeah. For those who watched over the weekend, one of the more impressive debuts, maybe the most impressive debut I've seen ever. I mean, there's long been a theory that when you're a first time on TV that you either go big or go small, but not only did this man go big, but he went big for a long, long time. He put a little fear in some guys that don't necessarily have a whole lot of fear when they bowl on TV. And so this 29-year-old, we've known about him here in the Southwest region. He has 2 regional titles, including the Grand Casino Invitational, which is the equivalent of our, I guess you'd say, tournament champion, so to speak, in the Southwest region, where he beat Wesley Lowe and Frankie to win that title. He's 29 years old, from Wheat Ridge, Colorado, and man, maybe the guy gained more fans in an hour and a half than anybody in the last decade. Kris Koeltzow, how are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing good. Probably not as good as you this morning.
I don't know. I had to come back to snow and nonsense. I've been warm for 2 weeks. I'm not a fan of this.
You live in Colorado. You knew that was part of the deal, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. One of my best friends is there in Colorado Springs. You have those few minutes of summer, like in the middle of the day. Those are fun.
Yeah.
You better enjoy cold sports.
Right.
So talk us through what went on down there. Like, how was what was the situation down there? I mean, obviously there was no fans again. I guess for you, that's not really necessarily a weird thing because you don't have any expectations one way or the other. But was anybody cheering?
A little. I mean, the ball reps were, I think. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot going on down there. I benefited from it, I think. Didn't have to look back to a crowd behind me. The way the set's built, the cameras aren't, all over you. So, yeah, just as far as I'm concerned, it was me in the lanes. And as long as I could stand in the right place and throw it in the right place, I didn't really have too much to worry about. My ball reaction was so good that I just tried not to think and just throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you were probably quite shocked to see how easy it was for you to control the pocket. Everybody talks about how fast it goes by on TV, and then suddenly, I think you hit the pocket like the first 35 shots or something crazy like that on TV. How was that? Did you almost have to pinch yourself, have to refocus in because it seemed so easy for you?
It was almost a blur for me. I've just been working really hard on my mental game because I've come out and tried to bowl some stuff before, and I get in my own head a little bit. I let the nerves get to me. I get shaky and start throwing the ball all over the place. So I've just been working really hard at controlling the things I can control, throw your shot, make sure you're watching your ball reaction. Other than that, stand on the approach and try to hit your target. Whatever happens, happens.
You did a bunch of that. That's for sure.
I have to be honest, watching you get up, and this isn't really anything, this was one for the big guys, but you were giving me flashbacks to John Daly strolling in and taking down the players back in the day, the USPGA. Get up there, grip it and rip it. Let's go, baby.
Kris was about 2 when that happened, I think, but
probably.
Yeah, maybe not even.
Well, it was just like it was a guy that, no disrespect here, but nobody'd really ever heard of. And he just came in and suddenly it was just like, holy shit, he's going to win. And he just didn't care. Like it was. And you had that exact same mentality from looking at it. You just, you didn't care who you were bowling against. Like what you were doing was working. And if it was going to keep working, you were going to win.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty familiar with all the guys on the show. I bowled with Simo plenty of times in the Southwest, Jacob, bowled with Darren in New Mexico, I think. So yeah, I was in Wesley, obviously, and Shawnee. So I wasn't real concerned with anything. I just figured with the ball reaction I had, if that would last for an entire show, have a pretty good shot at it. And I mean, the right lane ended up getting me, but when you're averaging 260, it's hard to really make a huge move or ball change. I probably should have, but
yeah.
Yeah, how much did you move? So Randy talked about it, and as he often does, he makes his best guess as to what he think happened. You went high there in the title match. You broke everything down for a 6-pin. What did you end up moving off that?
I moved 3 and 2 off of that, and I think I just caught Anthony's friction quicker on the lane, and obviously I didn't move enough. So I moved another 2 on the next shot and kind of left that weak shaker 10-pin. So probably a ball change was the right option, but
I mean, in the end, it didn't really matter.
Myself, and over time, I got to where I wasn't afraid to make any move. Man, it's awfully tough to make a move off of about an 18 bagger on that lane.
Yeah. Especially when the other guy comes out firing like Anthony did as well. Like, I mean, in the end, it almost, even if your ball reaction had held up, like it was going to be a pretty tough match one way or the other. It wasn't like he came in, like can be the case, and really struggled. I mean, here's one of our biggest trolls, Frank. He said, Simo did one of the cruelest things I've seen on TV. I really wanted Kris to win. That's literally the nicest thing he's ever said to anybody on our show. Frank, you're losing your touch.
Well, that's what kind of movement you created on Sunday, Kris. You've moved. Even the internet trolls wanted you to win. So
I mean, usually he would have been like, man. Like he would have made, if it had been me, he'd have made some quip about, man, it looked like you needed to make a trip to the buffet before the 4th game or something along those lines. He would have been like kind of cruel. Here he is. He's like, he's feeling sorry for you because Simo shot 279. I mean, a couple of guys said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you plan on bowling the World Series?
I'm considering it now. I didn't make a lot of plans to bowl this year with the current situation, traveling's kind of tricky, stuff like that. But I definitely think I'm going to give it a shot. If I can make it work, I'll be there.
Something you have funds. Yeah.
More to the point, are you not going to go back to go back and bowl it's in Jupiter to bowl the TOC? You have your regional title. You can bowl there. You're averaging about 252 for your career in Jupiter. I mean, that would be the one. I think it's 25 grand for the top 8 in that tournament.
I mean, maybe I'll have to look at the schedule.
I mean, if I was you, that would be the one I would bowl. The World Series and the schedule that's somewhat tricky with somebody who has a real job. You could be there for 4 days and you could be there for about 14. That schedule is kind of entertaining to try and figure out. You need to book like 6 plane flights on Southwest to know when you can leave.
Yeah.
this is another thing. This is what I wanted to get to. It says need me a Verge, but you were using the damn good Verge, weren't you? Dom has already got 2 now. I haven't seen your ball reaction in Jupiter. He was like, man, that's the ball down there.
It looked pretty good for 3 games, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
you got future Hall of Famers. You're impacting their ball decisions now.
Yeah.
I'd say you arrived.
Not even Dougie vision, man. It's been a week. It's been a minute since we've heard about Dougie. Yeah. So, real quick shout out. If you go on our YouTube channel right now, we have got me and Frankie taking on Prather and Colton Rischetti. It's a kind of a fun match. It's the latest in our matches from the Snowman. It's been pretty popular at the minute, so if you check that out, that would be cool. I'll put the link in the description. See what I did there, Kris? YouTube things.
YouTube things. There you go.
So, a couple of people have said, did you bowl in college? No.
He joined at 19, so that would have precluded doing that.
Yeah,
I saw he joined in 2010. Tell us a little about your background, though. Certainly here in the Southwest, we've gotten to know you much better as you beat all of us, fairly regularly in the last year or two. But before that, how you start? What's getting you to this point to where you just got to bowl on the biggest stage in the world and turned a lot of eyeballs?
I grew up in a bowling center. My parents bowled league on Tuesday nights, I think it was. The owner of the center would just turn on an end lane and say, "Here's the ball. Go down there and throw it a few times before league starts." Let me do it again after they were done bowling. I think I joined my first league when I was about 5 years old. Started bowling juniors.
So you were about 5 then?
Yeah, right. Started bowling some tournaments and stuff when I was 12 or 13, just the local junior tournaments around here. I actually, one of my first coaches was Susan Jensen, Tyler's mom.
Oh, yeah.
Growing up in juniors and stuff like that. So I've known Tyler a long time. He'd always stick his hand out on the lane trying to tell me where to throw the ball. I'd throw it down the gutter at his foot once in a while when I'd get irritated with him. So that was always fun. Yeah, and then the Holiday Lanes, the center I'm at now, I started washing dishes after I'd bowl league. They'd have a tournament coming in. I was 12 or 13 years old. Like, hey, we'll pay you $5 an hour if you want to go in and wash some dishes for us and help the kitchen guys out. So I'd do that. I'd work about 2 nights a week. They'd let me bowl all I wanted. So I'd come in after school and bowl 25 or 30 games before working my couple hours and go home and get my homework done. And just repeat. I mean, I probably bowled at least 100 games a week when I was probably 13 to 16 or so. That's all I did. Get there at 3 o'clock, bowl until 5 o'clock, as long as I just get as many games as I could. So, yeah, and we had a regional stop here in town when I was 16. And my dad just looks at me, do you want to go bowl? Well, if you're offering, sure, why not? I mean, I'm 16. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me. End up leading my first regional I ever bowled. I crossed with Lonnie Wallachek. I had a 299 game in qualifying. I get done. He turns and looks at me. So what's your story? So, yeah, I started off with my first regional when I was 16, and then we had the plastic ball championship just a couple miles from my house here when Jeff Carter won.
Yeah.
Bowled that PTQ, made it into the field.
That show. Yeah.
Somebody was on that one.
Yeah. I can't remember his name, though.
Nobody ever remembers second place.
He was a lot. I think it was third. I actually lost in the first round after out averaging everybody by about 12 pins a game.
Oh yeah, you were You were doing some crazy things with a plastic ball in that tournament, that's for sure.
Yeah. More plastic than these balls are real urethane.
So Jason Pavlenko says, was cheering for Kris one time for the big boys. Great bowling. Cody Mayers says, no disrespect to Simo, but I don't know there was a lot of guys in the country rooting for Simo that last match. Callie Grain follows it up with only Belmo because Simo was using the trend. One thing that's really funny about that whole West region is that was kind of screwed up the way that worked out, because the top seed was Simo, who's lived there all of about 5 minutes, Southwest guy.
Yeah. We had
the second seed was Wesley Lowe, who is 100% a Southwest guy. The third seed was Jacob, who bowls 50% of the tournaments in the Southwest. The fourth seed was Darren Tang, who 100% he's a West guy. And then you, who never bowl in the West, but because of the way it cuts off, end up in their region rather than our region. Because I was looking at the scores and I'm like, that's where all the Colorado guys are gone. Because I was wondering, we were trying to figure out why our region was struggling. And then like 6 or 8 of you guys who always bowl with us are out West. And we're like, oh, well, there's a few guys who we always get. And like the trade-off was we basically got Brad and Kyle.
And Kevin.
Oh, yeah, K. Will. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of their guys did make the show. So, yeah, moving things around, I mean, change the dynamic a little bit.
I was surprised, to say the least. I mean, really, Phoenix and Dallas are pretty much the same distance from here, so really could have gone either way. But, I mean, I'm a fan of bowling in the West. That's where I won my first regional, and then Bowl the West the second time, had a pretty good showing. So, I mean, I don't mind it so far.
That is bad.
It seems to be working out okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So did you drive into Phoenix?
I did.
Yeah. Phoenix is like the easiest city in the world to drive around in. It's like everything's on a grid, super easy. Like just everything's easy there. Then you start going to Old Town and you're like, the street stopped. Like when I moved over here to Texas, I'm like, it's like being back at home. Suddenly I need a GPS to go to the store. It's like so different from one to the other.
Friend of yours, Emily Eckhoff?
Better get back to work. She just got to go to Florida for a few days, so.
I think he meant. So he said the juggernaut.
And another fan of yours, Kris is the worst lane man in the state. Glad you can bowl.
Oh, says the guy that switched to two-handed and throws a mix on everything.
Because you don't put enough oil down. Clearly,
I guess.
That is right up to 450 and his speed down to 14.5, and now there's no oil.
Oh yeah, 12 miles an hour, 500 revs.
There you go. One of your friends, Antonio, says, had the privilege to watch Kris growing up. We all knew Kris was going to be special, a true force.
There you go.
Mrs. Vi.
Somebody
true. I mean, the way they had this tournament set up, I mean, really gave the more regional guys like me a chance. You're not bowling against the entire national tour. We're only bowling against a handful of them in our region. So, I mean, it's obviously not easy to make any TV show, but I mean, that's as good of a chance as you're going to get.
And any turning up to say nice performance.
Anthony, the tour veteran at 5 years younger than you.
Yeah, I was the oldest on my show. That's terrible.
Wow,
that's pretty amazing.
Wow. I keep forgetting because Jacob has a 43-year-old body.
Oh man, it takes a while to get to perfect that athletic talent. Look at this, right? Look at this. Can I get some cookies? You sure can. I mean, seriously?
He's just losing weight. That's not going to help you, Anthony.
Yeah.
Those cookies will not make you slimmer. I can tell you for a fact. That probably delayed my decision to retire from Team USA at least 2 years.
So what you're saying is, when they said, so it's between Kris and another guy, they were like, cookies.
Cookies. Yeah. Yeah. Now there's no choice. Wonder Boy's broken through now too. So yeah, he doesn't.
I think he would have also got the female vote on the panel as well.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So Kris, let's just go back a little bit. We'll talk about the RPI, the Southwest Invitational. You went through a pretty good field there. Did you feel like that was one of the things that gave you some confidence going forward? Because I'd seen you at a few of the regionals and you'd done really well, but I'd never seen you really, the Sunday it feels like you found a focus and you put it all together for like pretty much the whole day. Was that like a eureka moment for you a little bit?
It was a little bit. Because I was just trying to go back when I won my first regional in the West. I was like, you were in this zone where you're not paying attention to what other people are doing. Whether it be going and staring off into space over here or staring at the floor, just not worry about what the other guy's doing. Because you watch your opponent start throwing some strikes, and then you get up there and you're like, oh, I can't miss, and obviously you don't throw the best shot in the world. So in Shawnee, I was able to find that again. Whether it was, I've bowled against Sean a few times, so that was a familiar match. Obviously, I had a great ball reaction there as well. Mike Bailey, the second round, I had a great look on that. I've bowled on 23 and 24 a couple times. I knew I could strike on that pair.
I just need to stop you there just for 1 second. In Shawnee, a lot of people had a good look, so don't misunderstand this, that Kris had a good look and that was the reason why he won.
Yeah.
Like, don't misconstrue that to the people listening at home. It wasn't like he just had some magic ball reaction that nobody else had. Like, the scores were pretty high and you were bowling really good. It wasn't like, I understand that that's kind of your shtick. You give it at the, I'm just the lane man from Colorado. Sometimes they give me a good ball reaction. I get it, but that wasn't really the case. Anyway, go ahead. Continue.
I mean, I felt more confident than I had in a while. And then I had to bowl against Frankie, who beat my brains in for about 2 years straight, I think, in the regionals. Yeah, you couldn't beat him. So I was bowling against him. I was like, man, if I have a chance to beat him, it's right now, because just with my power advantage, if I can carry that extra 10 pin or whatever it may be, I think I have a chance. So I knew I was throwing it well. I knew I had good ball reaction. So I just wanted to throw good shots. And I think I was watching. There was some golf tournament on the TV in the background. I think that's what I was watching instead of what Frankie was doing. And then I knew he 2-8-10. So I was like, well, there's the only chance you're going to get out of him. So you better get up and make some good shots, take advantage of it. So I was able to sneak by him, and then I think Wesley did the same thing.
Once you beat Frankie, you're like, wow, Wesley, who cares?
I mean, just beating Frankie was a huge load off of my shoulders, because he's everyone around town has been giving me crap about it. He's like, are you ever going to beat him? So
you're not on your own. You're not on your own. In our region, Frankie's a savage. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've been midget country for a while now. You got Frankie, Maldonado, Simonson, Wesley Lowe. I mean,
yeah,
it looked like a wrestling match where you had to take on both of them to make it make it even. So,
yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's most annoying about Frankie when he's beating you is the fact that, and you fall into the same category, I've eaten larger meals than Frankie.
Yeah,
so
like,
when he beats you, you're like, I could throw you down the lane, you little twerp.
yeah, but why has anyone not just tossed you out the front door yet? Why do we keep letting this happen?
So thanks for coming on, Kris. Do you have anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Hammer Vice, and of course all the pro shops around here that take care of me, getting bowling balls drilled, stuff like that, and my boss at the bowling center at Holiday Lanes for allowing me the opportunity to get out and do this once in a while. So I appreciate everybody that's been behind me.
Well, as a fellow member, we would appreciate it if he could find you some extra shifts, probably around most regionals and possibly the TOC. That would be good. If you need some help with payroll, I'm sure we can have a little collection of the hat to keep you away. All right.
Yeah,
well,
great bowling, Kris. It was a lot of fun to watch. You certainly grabbed the country's attention and did yourself proud for sure. It was a great performance, and it took one of the giant slayers to slow you down. So I'm sure we'll see more of you in the future. And when that happens, maybe you'll be nice enough to come talk to us people lower on the totem pole. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care, Kris. Thanks a lot. There we go. So that was fun. Kris provided a definitely the story of the weekend on the PBA tour, and that transitions us nicely into the story of the week on the PWBA tour. We currently have a 16-year-old phenom, Jillian Martin. She's at some point this week, she's been leading every event they've bowled over there. So we thought we'd get Jason Thomas in to give us the skinny on what's been going on. So without further ado.
Yeah, nice job, Stu. You just get everybody's hopes up that you're going to have Jillian Martin on the show, and then you bring me in.
Yeah, well, I thought about it, and then I looked at the schedule, and I didn't want to mess with Jillian's chi process, whatever else. I actually originally thought the PWBA would be bowling when we were on, so it didn't really make any sense. But with you being in charge of the bubble and currently the show spoiler. When you're watching, if you're watching any time that someone's about to leave a 7-10 and Jason's in the commentary booth, Jason goes, "Oh, you're not going to like what you're going to see now." Because Jason is about 10 seconds ahead of the broadcast.
Yeah. That reminds me of a George Carlin quote. He said, "I'm ahead of my time. Unfortunately, only about 10 seconds ahead." So,
So tell us about it. What's been going on? How's the bubble situation been going?
Yeah.
My wife wanted to say that the food was good.
It is.
She appreciated that. So, yeah.
Well, first of all, you did say I was in charge of the bubble, and I will say I'm not, and I don't ever want to be in charge of the bubble.
Okay.
I just want to be in the bubble, like just floating around with everybody else in the bubble, not having to keep the bubble.
I apologize to Tennille
from bursting. So Rob Gottschall, Tennille, they've done a fantastic job, building the protocols and procedures that we've been following this week. As you guys know, there have been 3 sets of tests. Everybody's tested negative every single time, which is cause for celebration every time you get those tests back. And Rob definitely loses a little sleep every time we send those tests out. But it's been fantastic. I mean, it's gone perfectly to plan, which, as you guys know, as bowlers, when you know exactly what ball you're going to throw on every shot of the block, you quickly realize that's not going to work.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of understand where you're going with that. So what's for our viewers who haven't really been paying that much attention, and you should, because you can go on to Bowl TV, sign up for an account, and you can watch qualifying for free. Is that still the case?
It is. Yeah. Today is obviously the last round of that. We have the match play round, which is the final round to get to the show, which, as you guys know, usually is the most exciting round of the tournament. because it's everybody jockeying to make the show. And so that's what we're going to have here this afternoon. It gets started at noon. We actually pushed the time up a little bit just because of, we have, it's kind of a unique match play format where you've got 2 sets of matches going on per pair. So it's just taken a little longer than we thought. Plus the scores are a little bit lower, and it's taken a little longer to complete. So we just moved it up a little bit today. So noon Central Time is our start time today. And then we'll have our stepladder finals tonight at 8 with an amazing pregame show. I don't know if you guys have seen who we have on our pregame show tonight.
Nope.
We've got Betty Morris, we've got Lisa Wagner, we've got Wendy McPherson, and Carolyn Doran-Ballard. That's the bowler of the 70s, the bowler of the 80s, the bowler of the 90s, and the bowler of the 2000s on our pregame show tonight. So that's going to be awesome. And then we're going to have Tony Franklin and Carolyn call the show tonight for us.
It's like 130 titles.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I sent the email out, that hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's like 80% of the titles that have ever been won on the tour. I'm sending an email out.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, you only had to say Wendy McPherson and I was in.
Yeah, it's great. You know what's funny about that too is I did a little stream test for them this morning. I've never met Lisa Wagner before. And so I was so fanboying on the call, and I just was gushing. I mean, she probably thinks I'm like the craziest person, like this, like one of the people that she run into in the pro-am that wants to follow you around and get your autograph. That's kind of how I was with Lisa on the phone this morning.
She also bowled on the ladies tour for like 15 years. There's no way you're the craziest person.
That's a fair point. I appreciate it.
But anyway, Jason, you all she has to do is call Robert Smith. You can't be any more crazy for her than you are for Robert, and Robert's still okay.
Yeah, I mean, you take a lot of beatings from somebody, you start to respect them. So I grew up taking a lot of beatings from Robert Smith, and I still remember those beatings. So that's why I give him all the respect I do. Kris took a few beatings from Robert Smith as well.
Yeah, it probably didn't work out that Kris took more beatings from Robert than vice versa, though.
Well, he did eventually get the best of him, but when Robert was 19, I'm sure Kris wasn't enjoying that situation at the time, competing against Robert.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, I mean, we honestly didn't compete that much. I mean, he beat me for the national amateur title when he was 19. I was 23 or 4.
Yeah,
he beat me then, but in the high roller, I bowled all the squads, and Robert bowled some of the squads. So
yeah. Yeah, but what's funny is, I actually brought it up on the show, and this might be why you're bringing it up, is what Jillian's doing this week kind of reminds me of what Robert did when at 18, because back then, no 18-year-olds did that on the tour. There'd never been an amateur on the finals at the PBA. And Robert comes out just out of nowhere as a 19-year-old, and he leads the AC Delco, which was the first tournament of the year, and it's the biggest tournament. And it's like, who the heck is this kid? And please go home. We don't want you out here taking our money anymore. And he actually was nice, and he listened to them, and he did go home, and he didn't come back out on tour for a few years.
Yeah, it was well, I mean, Jowdy came out in Bowler's Journal when he was 16 years old and said, this guy's it.
Yeah.
He's already a guy. I always kind of felt that, unfortunately, Robert read that, and then he was right when he did what he liked to do.
Yeah.
There's still people I ever wanted to bowl less than Robert when he was in match play, because if he was in match play, he had it.
Right. Yeah, and what's interesting is there's a quote from Dan Jenkins, the famous golf writer, passed away a couple years ago, about Tiger Woods, and what he said was, the only thing that's going to stop this kid is a bad back or a bad marriage. And unfortunately for Tiger, those two things actually happened. But you can kind of apply that to Jillian Martin right now. I think the only thing that's going to stop her is a bad back or a bad marriage.
So just quickly, somebody's giving you a little bit of a hard time. And I've got to explain to them. Jason is worried he's going to catch coronavirus on video chat. Jason's inside the bubble in the arena, so he's not allowed to not. If he was to move that mask down just below his nose, Tennille would come out with a shotgun.
She would. So I'm afraid of Tennille, just like all the players out here on tour are afraid of Tennille, and rightfully so. And so I am following the rules.
Unless you're in your there you go, my wife. Unless you're in your room, you have to wear the mask. So.
Hunter is actually Linda's coworker. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
being,
He's obviously, there you go. He's obviously working hard.
this mask is going to come off the second this bubble pops, though. I'm getting tired of it.
So, real quick, let's just have a little bit of a recap of what's gone on this week. So, there was 2 9-game tournaments to qualify for the tournament they're bowling right now. The pins scratched. What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, just the thought was, let's start it fresh. It's 3 separate tournaments. So, the first 2, get you there, and, you never know what's going to happen with the scoring pace. And so, it's kind of unfair if somebody shoots 500 over for one of them because they really liked one pattern, and then they get a 500 pin lead going into the match play. So we just said, hey, it's 3 separate tournaments. Let's start from scratch for this last one, put a different pattern out, and make them earn it from 0.
Okay. All right. So, who won the first event? Anything notable that happened during it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's really funny about the story of this week is that, the first event, we have these 2 players that have been 1 and 2 in the world for the last few years, and they finished 1-2. And so we were like, okay, well, nothing's changed. The world's still the same, even though, it's completely different. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into the second tournament, Shannon bowled well, but this 16-year-old comes out of nowhere and lights up the world. Obviously, Brianna ended up winning the tournament, and we were really happy for her because she's been a really good player out here for a long time. And, as you guys know, the second title is kind of the one that validates you as a bowler. The first one could be a fluke. The second one's like, you're real. You. But Jillian was the story. And then Danielle does what she does, and misses the cut for
she went from second to second last.
Yeah, which was a shocking story.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shannon's actually bowling hurt right now. So they're I mean, Shannon, I wouldn't put anything past her today. She might find a way to get to the show and ice up and do Shannon things. But the story of this thing has really shifted, and I think it's really amazing that I really like, metaphors and analogies, and really the metaphor and analogy for this tournament was kind of renewal, right? All these bad things happen in the world, and now we're coming back, and it's a renewal of the PWBA and bowling being back. And you get this 16-year-old who is just like the freshest thing in the sport, being the big story. I just think you just can't write a better script.
Yeah, Jillian's currently in 3rd. There are 4 players within 40 pins of the show. So 9 players kind of in that zone. You were talking about Shannon O'Keefe. She's about 170 back, I think that is.
Yeah.
So that's gonna take a Herculean effort to get that back. But Absolutely. At the same time, anything's possible. Larry asked a very interesting question because there's a rule with the PWBA that you can only cash twice, correct?
Correct.
But this is only counting as one event. But if Jillian wins, you tell her that she has to go home and she can't play. So he said, if Jillian had won the other night, would she be allowed to bowl this tournament?
Yes, absolutely. She would. Yeah, it's a good question. It's something we thought through when we created the rules for this event. It would be the height of stupidity to have somebody cash twice and then send them home for the last event.
Yeah.
So it's something we thought through, and we're basically considering this event as one event for the cash rule and for the title rule. It's just, imagine if there was a 16-year-old kid at the Masters golf tournament going into the back 9 on Sunday with the chance to win, and the first thing Jim Nantz says is, if he wins this week, he's not going to be able to play the Phoenix Open next week. That he would never say that. It's just so colossally ridiculous.
Well, so it's honestly, unfortunately, we have to ask, but it's nice that that common sense prevailed over the letter of the law. Which
it is nice.
But to be fair, that is what's going to happen to Jillian if she wins this tournament.
Correct. Yeah, if she does win this tournament, but if we did want to give her a sponsor's exemption or something, we do have some rules that allow for.
Okay, all right. So that's fine. I just wanted to see that we could still just go along as whatever.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yep.
I was just trying to figure out, because how long does that last for? Like, so for example, Jillian's 16, and I'm going to assume just that she's probably going to go to college. So
Yes.
having a PWBA card may or may not, depend on which route she goes, cause her more issues than it's worth for us to be able to do that. So if she was to win this week, would that mean that she could never bowl another PWBA event unless you gave her an exemption until she was able to join?
Yeah, there's a lot of rules that relate to that. Some of which relate to college eligibility, some of which relate to PWBA. We have rules and mechanisms in place for all of it. Obviously, before Jillian bowled this week, she had to sign some paperwork and agree to some things. And so it's really going to be up to her, what she wants to do in the future. If she wants to participate in more PWBA events, obviously, if it's something that's within the rules, we would love to have her. I think a lot of people out there like watching her bowl, and I think she's inspiring, this young group of bowlers that, you see what happens at Junior Gold, and it's just such a great success story. And for someone like Jillian, who's a star at Junior Gold and not even in the highest division yet, winning on the PWBA tour, it's just a great way to inspire people. So, the fact that she's out here is fantastic. And the more we can do to allow her to participate within the rules, I think is the smart thing for us to be doing.
I do have a question kind of relating to that, because in some ways you control, well, in a lot of ways, control the rules and things for both college and juniors. Is there some talk about making some adjustments to allow some of these players to both keep eligibility and have the ability to bowl some of these tournaments?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean,
I don't have an easy answer either.
Yeah, I think we really do have kind of the Great Wall of China between the divisions in terms of not wanting to step on each other's rules. We do consult with one another, from short duration to the Open Championships to collegiate on some of these things. But that's the nice thing about being in the same building, is we can all sit down and kind of talk about what's best for the sport and adjust the rules for that. But at the end of the day, we're a rules organization, and that's what makes what we do important to the industry. The industry has to have these rules in order for these competitions to be legitimate. So it's something we take very seriously. But again, it's nice to all be in the same building so that we can all be on the same page in terms of what's best for bowling.
Yeah, I think Jillian brings it to the forefront. But in our region particularly, we have Wichita State, and then in the Central, there's McKendree and some powerhouse schools that have a lot of players that bowl a lot of regional type events, and there's some, those tournaments are better than a lot of the other options out there. And I don't have an easy answer to them, but certainly, if there was an avenue, I think it would be maybe best for the players and maybe for professional bowling moving forward, if those players can play more often than not. But
yeah, I mean, the one thing Chad Murphy always says is, if it's good for bowling, it's good for us. And so, we try not to say no to too many things. We try to figure out within the rules and what we can do to do what's best for bowling.
Yeah, without making kids not choose education.
Absolutely.
Over a short-term money opportunity. So yeah, we can move on from that as well. I think Jillian's a fantastic story. I, without a doubt, would have lost the bet that Stu would bring up Robert Smith before you.
I did.
Robert.
I gave you a little bit of a hard time on Twitter with it, and I did appreciate that the OGs, Barnes and Dick Allen, both came to like it. Some of the younger guys on tour are like, "Who's Jason Thomas?" And more to the point, who's Robert Smith?
That hurts. I prefer people not to know who I am, but yeah, for Robert, I feel.
Yeah, but all of the, we made a fierce commentary duo. Between myself, you, Kris, Dick, we had some good times.
Yeah, my favorite all-time extra frame booth right there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's never. Can you remember that year at the World Series when we were in the booth and we got Mike J to leave?
Yeah, no, I do.
That might be the greatest extra frame of all time.
I do. I mean, even though sometimes I would get a little grief from Tom Clark after those shows would end, I would be like, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we had a real good time. I don't think Ed Gallagher ever forgave me. I tried to send him an email. He didn't ever want to forgive me. He got a little upset about that. But
you were probably the reason why, he's not in the industry anymore. It's really your fault.
But yeah, we had some good times. I remember us breaking down. We had the stats, and we were breaking down Randy Peterson's spare shooting.
Yeah,
the 1 year at the World Series.
Yeah, the Lane Talk stats. Yeah, that was
awesome. If I remember correctly, I think Randy was in the top 20 in strike percentage, and he was in the bottom 5 in spare percentage, something along those lines.
Yeah, and you probably would have lost a lot of bets if that would have been your. Randy's in the top 20 because he's striking more than Belmo and Sean Rash. Okay,
yeah, but he couldn't make a spare to save his life. It was pretty funny. And then Randy's like, "Let me have a look at that." And I don't think he's bowled a serious tournament since.
Yeah, you can't argue with the stats.
No,
it does ruin a lot of good arguments.
It's like my current favorite stat is that Tom Brady has one less NFC championship than Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers combined, and they've spent 35 years in the NFC, and he spent 1. So that's my current favorite. I mean, there's some other great ones, but that's a pretty good one right there.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, the one where Tom Brady's more likely to make the Super Bowl than Steph Curry is to make a 3. That one's had a lot of legs.
That's craziness.
Yeah,
and it seems like there's going to be some Jillian Martin stats if it keeps going. What did you just one quick thing before you go, because I know you're right up against it. That's funny. I had legitimately gotten in an argument with Mike J on Facebook after that moment in the booth. Right,
Mike J will argue with you on Facebook.
Oh yeah,
he will. He's not going to lay back.
He gets triggered. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So we just quickly the position round the other night. So Jillian went from 1st to 3rd in the 10th frame, but talk us through that 10th frame, because it was quite unique.
Yeah, no, it was. We actually rolled out a new feature on Bowl TV called the Magic Number, and so what we do, like, people always ask, like, how do you figure out the math during the position round? It's pretty insane. And so we figured out this way of doing it where you take the number of the chaser, who's the last person out of the show, and you put a number on what the players on the show need in order to, guarantee themselves on the show. And then, the rest is just positioning, like who's going to be first, who's going to be third, who's going to be second. And so we didn't really talk about that until the very, very end. And then you start doing the math and you're like, holy cow, she could literally go from, I've seen players go from second to off the show in the position round and bowling a good game, right? But that was pretty crazy. We looked up and, the numbers were all in the books, and, Jillian needs to make that spare for there to be a tie for second. And I don't think she's missed a spare that I've seen all week. That's one of her strengths, is being a great spare shooter. And she fouls on the 10-pin conversion, and it drops her from a tie for second into third. And, she just shook it off. And, we were kind of laughing because we're like, well, that's actually good for us, because now she'll be on all 3 games of the step ladder. It's good for our ratings.
Well, it was also good for you because you didn't have to waste another 45 minutes tabulating the scores and having to have a roll-off.
Well, that's true too. That's
Jeff Goodger would have been like rolling around at roll-offs.
That's
and it was a full game, right?
It's a full game. That's the most exciting roll-off you can get. Although for positioning, maybe not that much. It's just basically the difference between first match and second match.
We were just talking about that. The 1 year at the World Series where Pete Weber tied for second and third and told John, I don't care, I'll just take third and left.
I need the rest.
And I said to Barnes, that is the biggest baller move of all time.
Yeah, you can't flex more than that. Go, I don't care about the extra game. I got that.
How do you feel if you're the 4th seed? Pete Weber says it makes no difference about bowling against you.
Exactly. It is the baller move.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody tune in to bowltv.com, register your free account, and
Starts in an hour.
it starts in an hour.
Yeah.
Oh crap! I gotta go. I gotta.
Yeah,
get
exactly. And if you like what you see, how much is it for the step ladder if they want to subscribe just to watch the step ladder?
So it's $4.95 for tonight for
And
the
then-
event pass, and then you could do a monthly subscription, $9.95 a month, or an annual, which is the best deal, $79.95 for the year. If you break it down by event, it's like 80 cents per event. I think Bernie Sanders did the math wrong the other night, said it was like 50 cents per event. If you break it down by individual broadcast, like we do, round one of match play, round two, it's 8 cents a broadcast.
Which is ironically the same amount that you get paid.
Exactly, right? So but I mean,
my boss at one point too. I understand.
I know Kris has been known to be a little tight with his money. Kris Barnes knows what the deal is for the best deal, right? $79.95 for the annual.
Jason, you also need to give him a call. He knows how to negotiate with Chad as well.
I know. I got shot down on the air asking for a raise, but I felt it was worth an effort.
Like I say, text Kris. He'll give you some tips.
Well,
will do.
I met my.
All right, Jason.
I can say I got the best of that deal.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job with the show. Love it.
Great deal. Hey, real quick, what else do you show on Bowl TV besides just PWBA?
Yeah, PWBA. Obviously, we're going to be doing the U.S. Open and the Masters, which will be simulcast on Flow Bowling. So that's obviously a huge event. We've got a couple of marquee senior events, the Senior Masters and the Super Senior Classic. Those are always huge viewed events on Bowl TV. Yeah, I know. Kris, I actually have been bowling a little bit lately, and it's actually going better than I thought. And so the other day I said, when I turn 50 in a year and a half, I might be willing to give, Jason Couch and Kris Barnes a few $100. It might be fun.
Yeah, but you can't play the Masters in the U.S. Open.
I know. I can't. It would have to be a PBA 50 event, but I'd also have to have time on my schedule to be able to.
I'm sure that the other players in the field would sign an exemption to allow you to bowl.
I'm sure they would. I
get beat by Robert Smith as Batman, and then I get Jason Thompson.
But you might retire if I actually finish higher than you in the tournament.
No, I've seen you bowl. You're not slow playing me.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna go out like that, I think.
All right. Take care, Jason. Thanks
guys, for having me.
Work.
Yep.
There you go. One of my favorite people to chat with. You can give him a bit of a hard time, but he's more than willing to hold his own. And brings back a lot of good memories of being in the extra frame booth with him. Back in my first few years on tour, where I didn't really need to be in the bowling center very often. I guess nothing's changed really.
Yeah, he's got a great sense of humor. He used to do a caricature that was pretty funny. I was more often than I cared to be a subject for his fodder. Deservedly so, as Robert and I had some success in the same venues, and Robert was definitely his guy, and Robert and I approached things differently.
Slightly.
Yes. So
there is somebody who remembers PB Atkinson.
That was the guy. Very funny. There were some fantastic things there. Oh yeah, California peeps are the best. Yeah. They are once they leave. How's that, honey?
Okay, well, exciting news coming Thursday. We're going to do our first combined thing with Storm Products. We're going to do a product showcase type show. I'm going to be featuring the UC2. Kris is going to be doing some stuff with the reality, which is going to be a question and answer type thing. We're going to have some footage in the show of us throwing the balls. That's one thing I've got to figure out how I'm going to get the footage in. But yeah, so we're going to do that on Thursday. And then, yeah, we'll see.
Back in the 80s.
I mean, I guess Walter Ray did come from California.
So did Wendy, so did Leanne, so did Tish, so did Dee Dee, so did Baker and Peterson, and there was a run there. Donna Adamick.
Yeah, I get it. Because right now the best bowlers don't come from this country.
Well, the Weber Cup would say otherwise. Another Alan Riley victim from last night. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. Yeah, he throws it good too. That's a sleeper doubles partner for you.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, join us on Thursday. We'll have our little product showcase. We'll have some other topical items inside the industry. Yeah, Nikki Giannoulis. There was a ton there for a while. It's going to be pretty tough for that to keep moving forward since there's going to be about a third of the centers left. And since dirt is about $40 a foot there, it's going to be tough.
Says, what about the Northeast? Yep. There were some good bowlers up there as well.
Yep.
Good bowlers everywhere.
West. East, West, and Texas. But, all right. Thanks again for joining us. Man, a really good episode. Kris Koeltzow, fantastic story. Jillian Martin, we've had some great stories. It's nice to see professional bowling back on the stage again. And again, go to Bowl TV. You can watch the last round. It's the who's who of PWBA shooting it out for that last show spot. And, till next time, thanks for joining us. Go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button for us. That would be fantastic. And support those bowling centers and local businesses around you. And when you get an opportunity, support our sponsors as well. Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Vice, Turbo, Coolwick, 3G Shoes, Master, Boulder Smart, and Mark Baker Bowling. And well, of course, Topeka, Kansas. Right. So,
on that note,
the good and the great joining us just in time. So again, we'll see you in a couple of days. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you later.